why these Raleigh homes cost more, but these don't. Did you know that a cheaper home outside of Raleigh might actually cost you more every single year? Yes, when you do the numbers, it's really true. It's normal to feel priced out of the Wake County real estate market and then start looking at the exurbs. But even if the home prices look incredible, hidden costs can add up. And today I'm breaking down why cheaper homes aren't always cheaper and how to know if the trade-off is really worth it. How to understand how Raleigh actually works. That's because most people are coming here from outside the area, treat it like it's one big market, and it's not. Think of it in 3 tiers. Tier 1 is Raleigh proper, and that includes downtown, Five Points, Glenwood, South, Moreland Heights, Marti, Oakwood, Hayes Barton, and White Oak. These are the walkable, close to everything neighborhoods where home values sit anywhere from the low 400s in townhomes and well into the millions depending on the street you end up with. Tier 2 is Wake County suburbs, and this is really where most of Raleigh action is. Cary, Apex, Morrisville, North Raleigh, Holly Springs, Wake Forest, and Knightdale. These communities sit inside Wake County, so you can get access to the county's full services and proximity to Research Triangle Park. The top areas in our market have always been North Raleigh and Cary. I think of North Raleigh in 2 sections, close in and outer North Raleigh. Close in North Raleigh features North Hills as the high point, and outer Raleigh boasts larger lot subdivision with tree-lined streets and wooded views. This area also verges on the outskirts of Wake Forest and gives easy access to Highway 98, and that's a favorite route to RTP. Cary includes Morrisville and even Apex, and they also give you quick access to Research Triangle Park. There are active plans in the Wake County Transportation Plan to widen the North Carolina 98 corridor to 4 lanes, which will open up that whole area and add to home values. Prices across these suburbs range from the mid-400s and well into the millions depending on where you land. And if you're curious about resale homes, stay around. I'll tackle that a little bit later in this video. But then you've got your 3rd tier, and I call that the Raleigh Exurbs. And I'm referring to areas beyond the suburbs, more rural or semi-rural communities that are still connected to our metro area. These are areas that sit well outside of Wake County. Johnston County, which includes Clayton and Smithfield, Franklin County, home to Lewisburg and Franklinton, Harnett County with Lillington and Angier. And then further out, there are places like Oxford in Granville County and Sanford in Chatham County. And we're typically talking about 30 to 60 minutes from downtown Raleigh, depending on the traffic. And home prices will run a lot lower than comparable homes in Wake County. So when somebody says, I'm looking just outside of Raleigh, what they're usually mean is that they're willing to trade being close for paying less, which sounds like a great deal on paper, and I'm getting ahead of myself because it can be. But these are some things you need to know before you make that trade. Why it looks so appealing is real. I'm not going to pretend that it isn't. If you're looking at a home in Cary, the median price range is the high 500s to 600s, and you're probably looking at a smaller lot, a neighborhood that feels a little tight, and a monthly payment that really stretches your budget. Then you look in Oxford in Granville County or Angier in Harnett County, and things change pretty fast. For what a home runs in Cary, you could find something in Oxford or Angier that's far better in terms of size, lot, finish, and price. And so we're talking about a much bigger house, a much larger piece of land, and a price tag that still leaves you room to breathe. And if you could find a home in the low to mid 300s in these areas, what you get there would be a completely different category from anything that price closer into Raleigh could offer. That's a fair comparison, and it's exactly why so many buyers start looking out that way. So if you need insight when looking at homes here, make sure to reach out to me. I've helped thousands of families work through this across every corner of this market, and I can help you too. My contact information is in the description below, and people are always shocked when many times I answer the phone. Okay, back to the video. It's not just the price though. You've got growing communities out there. You've got new subdivisions. You've got developing towns that feel like you're getting in the early like stages of something new. Johnston County, Franklin County, these aren't slow places. They're growing and you can see it. And there's also a lot size thing that comes in places like Granville County. The soil there doesn't perk well for building, so you're often looking at larger lots. And that's one reason you can't build it out as densely, which means you get more land per home and there's less supply. You're genuinely getting more space for your money. And even within Wake County, Apex is a great example of what's coming. Holly Springs is next suburb up after Apex in terms of momentum, and Apex itself is about to get a big boost. UNC Health and Duke Health have officially picked Apex, specifically the Viridia development at US 1 and NC 540, as the home for a standalone children's hospital. And this hospital will be really special. It'll be a renowned children's hospital featuring 500-bed facility for children all the way through adolescence. And the surrounding community of Viridia will generate about 8,000 jobs. The broader development will include thousands of homes, a Wake Tech campus, and a ton of commercial space. So this is the kind of big development that lifts the whole surrounding area, and it will make Apex's long-term home value case even stronger than it currently is. The complete 540 Phase 1, which opened in fall of 2024, has also improved the connectivity from the southern Wake County suburbs towards I-40. And this has made some of these drives feel more manageable than they used to. So the appeal makes total sense. The question is, what happens when you zoom out and you look at the full picture? So what are the hidden costs of these areas? This is the part that most buyers don't look at until they have already fallen in love with a house and that lower price tag. These costs are consistent, they're real, and they add up fast. So commuting is the first and the biggest additional cost. If you work in or around Research Triangle Park or downtown Raleigh or anywhere along I-440 corridor, a round trip from Johnston County or Franklin County is easily 60 miles or more per day. So gas, vehicle wear and tear, maintenance adds up to somewhere between $6,000 to $10,000 per year, depending on your car and your exact route. And the IRS standard mileage rate for vehicle use is 0.72 cents per mile in 2026. And with gas prices in Raleigh Metro running around 3.93 per gallon right now, that's real money leaving your account every single month. And that's before the factor in of the completed 540 tolls, which add cost for commuters using the outer loop from Apex or Garner towards I-40, before you account for time too. So 250 working days a year, 60 to 90 minutes in your car each way, that's a huge chunk out of your life. And traffic on some of these routes can be rough and slow, and you'll feel it at the end of the day. So when you think about saving on the purchase price, some of that starts getting chipped away the moment you start your daily commute. The lifestyle and the amenities trade-off is also something buyers often underestimate until they're actually living it on a daily basis. In Cary or North Raleigh, you've got restaurants, you've got grocery stores, entertainment, and medical appointments all close and really easy to get to. Out in the Exurbs, you're not as close to the grocery store, not as close to the restaurants or things to do. And there are some options, but definitely not the same range that you would have closer in. So that affects your day-to-day quality of life, and it affects how much extra driving you're doing outside of your work commute too. Errands do stack up. Broadband is also a real challenge in parts of these counties. Though there's money going into fixing it, the state has committed nearly $26 million to bring high-speed internet to rural homes across 66 counties. So completion is targeted by the end of 2026. But right now, if you're working from home and need a strong connection, check your specific address before you commit. That's also true true when we talk about other utilities, and I'll circle back to this after we talk about health care. Healthcare access is one that doesn't come up enough in these conversations. Wake County has a strong hospital network. Wake Med's main Raleigh campus, which is Wake Med North, there's also Wake Med Cary, there's also UNC Rex and Duke University hospitals are all within reasonable reach for people inside Wake County. Duke has been ranked the #1 hospital in North Carolina by USA News and World Report. The outer counties don't really have that. For most specialty care and emergencies, residents are driving into Wake County. And that's worth thinking through carefully, especially for families with young children or anyone that wants to be close to major medical systems. Now let's talk about taxes and water and septic tanks. You know, property taxes also get overlooked, and they're more layered than most people think. Johnston County combined tax and fire rate runs about 0.63 per $100 of property value. Wake County's effective rate sits at about 0.68% through the combined city and county rates. And the outer counties' tax bills are generally lower, but the gap isn't as big as some buyers assume when you're comparing homes at a very different price point. What catches buyers completely off guard is septic and well water. You know, I've sold many homes to people who've never even heard of septic tanks. It was completely foreign to them. But over half of all North Carolina homes outside the urban areas run on individual septic systems. And in more rural communities, that number climbs even higher. So routine pumping every 2 to 3 years is recommended. And you have potential drain field replacements that can cost thousands, water testing for private wells. These are reoccurring costs that don't exist when you're on city water and city sewer. They're manageable, but they are real and they need to be in your budget. And then there is your home's resale value. This one matters a lot more than most people think in the 2026 market. Right now in Raleigh proper, homes are selling in about 40 days. In Cary, around 70 days. In Apex, around 70 days also. But in Johnston County, you're looking at roughly 100 days on the market. In Franklin County is around 68 days, and Harnett County stretches to about 120 days. So fewer buyers means more leverage on the buyer's side, not the seller's side. So if a market downturn occurs, exurb markets tend to feel it harder and longer because the pool of buyers willing to take on that commute is just smaller. So if you're planning to sell in the next 5 to 7 years, that's worth factoring in at the beginning. So when does it make sense to buy in the exurbs? Well, now I want to be clear. This isn't about scaring you away from the exurbs. For the right buyer, they really make a lot of sense. If you work fully remote, and your commute is 0, then the whole equation changes for you. And the savings on the purchase price can be significant, and you get to keep those savings. If your job is actually closer to Johnston, Harnett, or Franklin County than it is to downtown Raleigh or RTP, you're in a completely different spot than someone that's commuting inbound every single day. If you genuinely want a rural lifestyle, larger lots, more quiet, more space, those things are real and they have real value. If you're retired or your life doesn't pull you towards central Raleigh regularly, the exurbs can be great. But if you're commuting daily to RTP, downtown, or anywhere along the I-440 corridor, those annual commuting costs can eat into your savings fast. Think about walkability, dining, entertainment, and convenience. If they matter to you, you'd be giving up a lot. If you have school-aged children in activities that pull you towards the city regularly, those drives increase your daily travel miles. And if being close to a strong hospital system matters, Wake County's medical network is in a different league. So the smart buyers are the ones who run the real numbers, not just the purchase price, before they decide. In conclusion, Raleigh is a fast-growing market, and you know, there's a spot here for just about every buyer. The city surpassed 500,000 residents in 2024, and the broader metro area keeps pulling people in. So my team helps buyers across Raleigh and Cary and all the suburbs, and yes, the Exurbs too. So if you want a real conversation about which area fits your budget and your lifestyle, send me an email at marti@martihampton.com. You might figure it out that the Exurbs aren't quite right for you. So I've linked a video here that ranks the top Raleigh suburbs, and you can see exactly what's out there and what each one actually cost. Thanks for being here. See you next time.